acknowledgement. So I am located in the city of Hamilton. I know some of you may be in Niagara or in other areas, but the city of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish of One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabeg to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. And today, the city of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land. Awesome. So, a little bit about myself. So as Kim said, I'm Madi. I am currently a career success specialist and career coach at Juneau College. Juneau College is actually a technology college, a private college that helps people do a career pivot or shift their career to technology. So people can go through a 9-week boot camp to learn how to be front-end developers, and then I coach them through the job process, building your resume, building your cover letter, LinkedIn, obviously. But it's really awesome to coach these individuals who many of them are taking a complete career pivot, which I'm sure some of you are also doing with pivoting into PR, which is super exciting. So I am a tech enthusiast. I've started a few of my own startups during my time as an undergrad at Brock University a few years ago. I love to volunteer in my community. I'm also a very proud cat mom. And a bonus fact, LinkedIn has actually helped me get all of my jobs, believe it or not. So we'll talk a little bit today about how you can do that in your career as well. So just a bit about tonight's agenda. I'm trying to try out a different format. I usually do this in a pretty, 30-minute quick, here's what you need to do, but I really wanted to make it interactive for all of you. So that's why I encourage you, if I ask a question or if we can start kind of a conversation or dialogue, please feel free to jump in and unmute. I really want this to be an interactive session. So we'll talk a bit about, why some of you already use LinkedIn, what are you using it for, building your profile, the job search, engaging and posting on LinkedIn, and building your story. So the two #1 things I want all of you to walk away with today is how can I appropriately and effectively tell my story, whatever you come from, wherever career path you came from before, or whatever academic program you came from before, how you can share that story on LinkedIn, and also how you can share that story through your job search as well. Awesome. So obviously many of you, I'm guessing, have LinkedIn. Who here is pretty recent to LinkedIn? Who here created a LinkedIn profile, let's just say in 2020? Okay, awesome. And feel free to use the chat as well. Whatever works for you. So awesome. Okay. So I can't really see names, but I did see one person put your hand up. So that's awesome. That's great. 2020 was the year for you to get LinkedIn, which is super exciting. So I always like to share the mission and vision that LinkedIn has for itself. Because I think a lot of us forget and we kind of view LinkedIn as some corporate wheel that, really is just for, certain industries or whatever it is. But really the main mission for LinkedIn is to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful, and to create economic opportunities for every member of the global workforce. So regardless of what industry you're coming from or industry you're going into, LinkedIn really wants to help you make those connections. And I think it's, when we view LinkedIn as that rather than, again, this kind of corporate, mean kind of platform that people just share all of their successes rather than, a platform where people can build community and share resources and knowledge. I think it's, a good way to switch how we view LinkedIn. So I'm going to turn it to you all to ask some quick questions. So why do you use LinkedIn right now? If anyone wants to jump in, do you use LinkedIn to just kind of have it because you're told it's something you should have? Do you use it when you get a new job and you share it? Why currently are you using LinkedIn? Or maybe why aren't you using LinkedIn?
So there are some in the chats. Maintain my network and connections for job opportunities. Feel free to unmute and share your ideas and your thoughts.
And if you aren't using LinkedIn now, like if you came to this workshop to learn more about how you can use LinkedIn, why haven't you been using LinkedIn? I was told it was a good way to get hired. Yep, networking, managing company pages. Awesome. LinkedIn Learning. Yeah, that's a really good one. It's so true. I love LinkedIn Learning. Job searching, looking at job requirements, training programs to keep track of connections. Awesome. Dan, I don't really get, it's out of date, so I don't want to use it till updated about LinkedIn. Reach out to connections. Awesome. Okay, cool. So it seems like all of you are on the right track of why you use LinkedIn, which is awesome. So like I said, for the point of this workshop, I really wanted to focus on two things. The job search on LinkedIn, and also sharing your story or your personal brand on LinkedIn as well. And really, what comes first? You know, do you search for jobs and then build your personal brand? Do you build your personal brand and share your story and then search for jobs? So maybe we can come to a conclusion of what comes first at the end of this presentation. But the first thing I want to start with is why I'm focusing on personal brand and then a job search. So again, for all of you are PR professionals, so I'm sure you can explain what a personal brand is to me, but just in case, you know, a personal brand is a focus and genuine delivery of your story with the hopes of leaving a positive impact, in my opinion. Some of you may have different definitions, but I think in terms of especially young professionals or someone just starting out your career, I think this is really a good definition to stand by. And LinkedIn really provides a way for you to have a personal brand on a budget as well. You don't have to pay for people to do a logo for you. You don't have to pay for people to, the most you have to pay is maybe for a headshot for your photo, but my headshot right now is taken from a phone. So, but really, it's really on a budget for you to just start kind of that beginnings of creating that brand and creating that kind of appearance on virtually. And 93% of recruiters use LinkedIn to research and recruit candidates. So if you're not building a strong LinkedIn presence, forget, like, you know, when people always say, if someone Googles your name, you want to have good presence. Yes, of course that's true. But a lot of times recruiters use the search bar in LinkedIn similar to Google. So it is really important to focus on having that effective brand on before a recruiter even goes to LinkedIn to search up your name if they see your resume or if they see you in any other situations. And I first, to just kind of get started, I really wanted to, yeah, good point, Kim. I know I definitely checked every single person in this room's LinkedIn. So Kim's looking at your LinkedIn. And to get started, I really want to focus on the profile. So some of you may have already built up your LinkedIn really well. So I hope these are just tips that you can edit and you can kind of take to the next level for your profile. And some of you may be very new to kind of creating a strong profile and a strong kind of presence on LinkedIn. So again, I hope all these tips will help regardless. So this is what mine is. Hint, hint, wink, wink. You could add me on LinkedIn right now. But really for your profile one-on-one, I wanted to focus on the headline first, which is this little portion here, which is when you search up my name, that's the first thing you're going to see about me. So obviously you want to have some impact with that headline. So a headline is you have 120 characters to tell people who you are and what you do. So I always start with a two kind of pronged strategy or equation, I guess, of how to put together a really strong headline. So I always start with the action you do and your passion. So what are you passionate about? Why do you do what you do? So for example, the action for me, well, not for me, but for a couple examples is bridging students to industry, teaching the next generation, providing healthcare to Canadians. It could be, you know, public relations professional, or, you know, whatever it might be. I love the word connecting, as you can probably see. For example, my first headline is bridging talent to tech right now. So really thinking in 4 words or less, what do you do, or what are you hoping to do? You know, what maybe when you're done your postgrad program, or what you've done in the past. And then your passion. So really looking at why do you do what you do? So I'm passionate about connecting, including, and empowering. I'm passionate about connecting people to different resources and connecting them to jobs they like. I like including people that have commonly been excluded from conversations, and I really like empowering people as well to get the career they want. But this could be, you know, contributing to and building up my community, helping businesses grow. So really, why do you do what you do? You know, why are you in this profession of public relations or whatever kind of stream you want to go into after this program or after your post-grad or whatever stage of your career is at? So again, the action you do and your passion, or as Simon Sinek says, like, what is your why as well? So again, if you're taking notes at this time, I would love, maybe not right now in the presentation, but I'd love to hear maybe some of the things you've put together by the end of this presentation. So yeah, and these slides will also be going out as well, so you'll have these resources. And then I want to talk about the summary. So the summary is this about section right here. So when people are hooked by your headline, they then go, and the next thing they see is going to be your summary. So there's a couple different kind of summaries, but I always recommend using the blended summary, which is, it shows a little bit of everything for yourself. So this is where you have a bit more space to share who you are and what you do. And this should cover, you know, work passions, key skills, unique qualifications, a list of various roles that you've had exposure to over the years. And again, there's a lot of different kinds of summaries you can use. There's mission-based, personality, accomplishments, but I always do blended, which follows this. Again, as you can probably see, I'm really big into using equations and using templates to follow along. But I always say, you know, overview of your professional experiences. And this may be if you weren't in, you know, PR before what you're doing now, you can include all that past experience, but an overview of your personal experiences, what you do off the clock, and fun facts. So this is where I include, you know, I love coaching people on the side. I love reviewing people's resumes. I love career coaching people as they start their career, when they're making a career switch. I also sit on the board for YWCA Niagara, and also languages spoken, unique kind of skills like that you have. Maybe you have some technical abilities as well you'd like to include. And what do you want people to do after they look at your profile? So for example, when you look at my summary at the end, obviously because of my job is to connect people with tech companies, I put, are you looking for tech talent? Let's chat. So what is your call to action for people? Are you looking for a mentor? Are you looking for more mentors? Are you looking for a job right now? Are you looking for an internship right now for your program? So always do that call to action. Even if you are just looking to connect with more people in the industry, you know, you could always say, you know, interested in my profile, let's chat some more. Feel free to directly message me with any questions. So always look at an overview of your professional experience, what you do off the clock, and it kind of humanizes you a bit. It brings a little bit more personality into it, because again, LinkedIn isn't this corporate kind of what box that you have to stay within. It is a time for you to get creative and let people know like what you have done in the past or what you enjoy to do on the side. May it be, you know, volunteer in your neighborhood or do a side hustle of some kind. And again, always ending with that call to action as well of what do you want people to do after they look at your profile, even if it's to think a certain way or you end off with a certain question you want people to think about. Does anyone have any questions from that? I hope I'm not going too fast. I tend to talk fast naturally. I'm not even nervous. That's just me. But again, we'll come back to questions if anything comes up. And the other thing is, just a quick tip too, feel free to edit your summary as you job search. So if you're in the job search process right now, or if you will be, feel free to edit your summary, and you can use target job descriptions of the positions you're applying for with putting keywords in your summary. So if you are applying for positions and you find a lot of times they are using, you know, they are looking for certain skills, certain requirements, you can also, you know, include those keywords, kind of like SEO kind of marketing, but within the summary of your LinkedIn as well. Just a quick tip there. And next, I want to talk about what is your value proposition. So does anyone know, can anyone tell me like what a value proposition is? Have you, I don't know if anyone has learned about this, or maybe when you know, whatever it is through school, can anyone tell me what a value proposition is? Just really quick, I'll explain a little bit of why I bring up value proposition, because some of you might be thinking value proposition, isn't that something like that businesses use? Isn't that something like where you're really trying to get like that secret sauce from your business idea when you're building a startup. But I decided to look at value proposition as something that what an individual's secret sauce is. So based on your story, based on your past experiences, maybe you were in a completely different industry before you got into PR. Maybe you took, a certain undergrad that you then brought into your postgrad program. It's really looking at what sets you apart. And this can be through two ways. And this is still kind of connected to the business aspect of it, but bringing it to, yes, there will be a copy of the presentation for sure. And Nicholas, thanks for typing that into the chat as well. I should really keep the chat up, as I said I was going to. But again, as Rita said in the chat, really, really good answer. How you add value to someone's life or workplace, for sure. So the two kind of ways of creating a value proposition, I have this great book as well. It's called Value Proposition Design, and it's kind of a workbook for businesses, but I really do think it can apply to the story that you bring to LinkedIn or even for your job search. But you look at how to create value. So the set of value proposition benefits that you design to attract customers, or this could be, attract recruiters or just attract network or community, and observe customers as well. So the set of customer characteristics that you assume, observe, and verify in the market. And again, you might be saying, I'm not a business, I'm not trying to sell to customers, but really customers or the market you're trying to sell your story to or sell your value proposition to is really employers. It might be people that you're trying to bring into your community. We'll chat a bit about that during the end exercise of this workshop. But really viewing what is my secret, what is my story, what is unique in my story, and what is something that no one else is bringing or no one else can do better. So if anyone wants to share, I know people love to talk about themselves. Does anyone want to share what they think their value proposition is? And this could be based on educational experience. It could be based on professional experience that you're bringing to the table that is unique. Does any brave soul want to share what they think their value proposition is?
I will. I'll share.
Okay, thank you.
I think a lot of people, one of the things I did when I was at school is I was getting my degree and I used my elective credits to get a diploma as well. So I bring another extra educational thing to the table that a lot of people that graduate with the same degree as me might not have. Beyond that, though, that would be my value proposition.
That's awesome. And that shows that you go the extra mile and that you make the most out of your time somewhere as well. That's awesome. Thank you. What's your name? Sorry, I can't see it on the box for some reason.
It's Elise.
Thanks, Elise. Anyone else?
I can go, I guess. I feel like mine is all over the place and I always struggle to pare it down into something concise. But I usually start with I've recently transitioned to PR from a 15-year career in child welfare, and I am a passionate union activist and activist for equity, and put that in all of my communications. Something along those lines. It varies because I have not really nailed it down yet.
But I think you made that connection of what you're then bringing to communications because of your past professional experience. And don't worry if you haven't nailed it down. That's why I'm trying to I'm opening this up. We're going to do a pretty reflective exercise at the end because it really takes a while and it could change in a year or so as well. So don't stress too much about it. Anyone else?
My background academically is in philosophy, and I feel like kind of the hard skill of philosophy is making really complex bits of information or situations easier to understand. And I think that's kind of the crux of what we do with sort of precise, sort of technical and press writing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, good point. I like that. Thank you. What's your name? Sorry.
Nicholas.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we can come back to it. And again, the exercise we will do at the end is really about your value proposition. So I want you to think a bit more about that before we get to the end. But for the sake of time, let's move on. So, I guess I could have maybe I should have studied my own slides first. But anyways, yes, this is the book I was mentioning before, and those kind of two things where you're trying to fit yourself into your story and into kind of like that personal brand. Awesome. So next I want to shift into, we're going to get a bit more into building your story and brand a little bit later, but I wanted to shift into the job search. Or the job search one-on-one on LinkedIn. So as I said before, 93% of recruiters use LinkedIn to research and recruit candidates. So I don't know if any of you have used LinkedIn job board before. You know, Indeed and Glassdoor are really good as well, but LinkedIn allows you to, you know, save searches, get job alerts, search for jobs very specifically based on location, based on level of the job, even based on like if you have no connections that work there, and you also get to see like the company page as well. So just a couple tips, and again, the annotated presentation will be sent out to you. So all the everything I'm saying, the notes will be included in this presentation too. So tips that will make the searching for jobs and then also what you do afterwards pretty easy and make LinkedIn really, really user friendly. So firstly, LinkedIn, it's super easy to do your homework. So I am totally guilty of using LinkedIn, similar to like and we're all guilty of this, of Facebook, like stalking people or looking on Facebook and then getting to someone else's profile and then getting to someone else's profile. But it really helps you to do your homework. So you can use LinkedIn to research companies. You can you can research interviewers and recruiters and hiring managers before submitting applications or going into the interview. So we'll talk a bit about this in a moment, but when you see a job, you're able to see who posted, so you can check, you know, maybe they went to Niagara College for their postgrad, maybe they went to Mohawk, maybe they went to the same university as you. There's a direct connection. You can see what their career path has been. So it's really easy for you to research, you know, research what kind of company it is as well, you know, how many employees do they have working for them, where are they located, just how active they also are on LinkedIn as well. And then the next tip I have too is, it sounds harsh, but get over yourself. And I say this in the nicest way because oftentimes when we look at social media platforms, it can be a little bit scary messaging strangers. It can be a little bit scary putting yourself out there and reaching out to people if you're interested in a job. So we'll talk a bit about this later, but when you see a job posting and you apply, what stops you from messaging the hiring managers or people you know within the company of saying, hey, I just applied for this job and I really would love to get your insight on the company. Or maybe if it's a hiring manager, you could say, let me know if you have any other questions. You know, I'm really excited about this role. You know, besides common belief that people find it weird when strangers message them, people actually enjoy talking on LinkedIn. I have people messaging me all the time asking for different tips or asking me, you know, if they're applied for a job at the company I'm currently at, asking me what I think. And I think it's the best platform. Yes, the best even against Instagram or Facebook, to really, you know, meet people you may not know and just strike a genuine conversation about what their career path has been like. So let's just say you know of someone, you've seen them pop up on your feed and they have a career path that you would love to have one day. They work in a similar industry that you would like to get into. It's really about getting over your own fear of messaging a stranger, because really people, that is what LinkedIn is for, is meeting people within your industry and taking advantage of building that community, especially virtually right now. And next tip would be optimizing your profile. So it's wonderful that you're here tonight, so you can use some of the tips of your headline and of your summary, but ensure that everything is filled out. And we'll also get into some tools as well that you can use after this that will show, you know, having everything filled out, even having a recommendation. So let's just say through this mentorship program, ask your mentor at the end, you know, if you enjoyed mentoring me during this time, would you give me a recommendation? And again, I'll show a screenshot of what that looks like. You can take stock of your skills. So on LinkedIn, you can add your own skills and people can endorse you on those skills as well, which is awesome. And secondly, nurture your network. So for example, if any of you add me on LinkedIn after this, there's an option for you to add a note every single time you add someone to LinkedIn. So I hope you hint, wink, wink, you know, hi, Madi, thanks for the presentation. Nice virtually meeting you. you can add that note to it. So every time, you know, you have a speaker coming in here, I know in the postgrad program, a lot of guest speakers come in. It's always about really nurturing your network and leaving a positive impact as well. Because since now virtually, it's not like we're going to network meetings. It's very easy to leave a lasting impression or a good impression at a network in an in-person networking meeting. So how can you do that virtually? It's really about nurturing your network. And again, going back to my second point there, getting over yourself a little bit and just taking a chance and reaching out to people you usually wouldn't, but also taking the chance to do your homework and be a little bit personalize your reach outs as well. And then finally, engage and post. So I'll get into this a little bit later, but really engaging on LinkedIn. So that might be, you see maybe Kim posting something on LinkedIn that really makes you think, or you have a question about, or you just want to congratulate her. Maybe she did something cool recently. Always commenting on connections. Posts are really helpful, and also posting too. And again, I'm not just using this presentation so you post about it. This is not a self-plug, but let's just say you share what you learned through this workshop, for example, and it demonstrates, you know, what you've been doing. It demonstrates that you took your evening to attend this, to learn more, to build onto to add something else to your toolkit. So really about posting and showing what you've been up to, and, you know, any kind of questions or thoughts that come up. So maybe you had a question about mentorship, make sure that you're posting and engaging on LinkedIn with that. And then a couple tools I wanted to share as well. So as I said before, you can actually, under career interests, and this is actually on your profile, you can actually show, if you are in the market right now, you can show recruiters that you're open for opportunities. You can change all of your career interests to, you know, actively applying, what job titles you're considering, what locations you'd be willing to look in, and what types of work you're open to. So for example, maybe if you are open to an internship, you'd put internship and full-time. You can also manage all of your alerts. LOL, Kim, Innovation Factory. You can also save all your job searches. And again, you're not just searching by title or company. You can also search by skill, which I also think is really, really cool. And again, up here, you have job alerts as well, and save jobs too that you can come back to as well. So similar, I think Indeed has this as well, but every single day you can get an email that says, here, like, because you searched up this past position and you saved it, here's a whole bunch that came up in the past 24 hours. Oh, my bad. And like I said before, for skills, this is at the very end of your profile. So you can add, you know, teamwork, organization skills, and you can invite people to endorse you on these as well. So as you can see, a couple in the background of that, a couple people have endorsed me in social media. I don't know why, time management, etc. So this is a great way, because when you see a posting, so for example, for this bilingual talent acquisition specialist, you can actually see which one of your skills matches with the posting. So if you don't have any skills there, the recruiter, who is most likely going to use this posting also to see what applicants are proficient for this role, they will also see the criteria that you have aligned with as well. So it's really, really important. And I encourage you to even use this mentorship community to invite people to endorse you, because they know you, maybe a classmate, they also know your skills as well, to endorse you, and to also leave a recommendation, as I mentioned before. Awesome. And then this is an example of a company page. I know many of you have probably seen this, but this is a really great way, again, to see the jobs that are open, and also to see the employees. So for example, the reason why I use company pages so much when I'm helping job seekers, you know, look at different postings, is that you never know which one of your connections, or maybe you see that I'm connected to someone that works at Juno, for example, or maybe, you know, Kim knows someone that works at Juno. That's a way for you to say, hey, I see that, like, you're connected with someone that works at a company that I would love to work for. I just applied for a posting. So it's really a good way. Again, a little bit of that Facebook creep thing coming in a little bit, but on LinkedIn, it really is a tool for you to see how big your community is, and how easy it is for you to make that direct connection right to a company that you would like to work for. And then here's some LinkedIn groups as well. So I have a couple of like the young professional groups I'm in, the HR group I'm in. So groups are also a great way for you to get involved. So maybe if there's like a young professionals in PR, or maybe just simply a PR professional one, or maybe, you know, a BIPOC PR professional group. This is a great way for people, again, to build that community on LinkedIn. And that can be found on the side as well. Oh, there you go. And like I said, recommendations is awesome. So I think this is a little bit different looking on mine now that I've given some more recently, but just giving a recommendation. So let's just say you think Kim has done a great job facilitating this mentorship program. Giving a recommendation on here is a nice way to give. One of my favorite authors, Adam Grant, talks a lot about giver and taker. And one of the best ways to show, you know, kindness professionally and kindness virtually as well is to just give a recommendation of someone you've worked with, and this could be for a classmate as well. And you can also ask for a recommendation too. So sometimes I've asked, you know, trusted friends or trusted peers to give a recommendation. So also don't be scared to use that tool as well. Awesome. So just went through all those tips, all that good stuff. I now kind of want to open up the floor a bit to another discussion. And a bit more about just a little bit one-on-one of how you can go a step ahead with applying for jobs through LinkedIn. So opening up the floor, you see a job posting that looks perfect for you. What do you do? What are your first steps when you see a position that you're interested in?
So for me, I will first go and see the job descriptions. Sorry, guys.
Oh, all good.
So first I go see the job description and see how it matches my qualifications, and then try to modify my cover letter and, you know, maybe reposition my resume according to the job description to match, you know, the keywords in both.
Awesome. You took the words out of my mouth for my next slide, but I will expand on that in a sec. Thank you. That was awesome. Anyone else?
You could look at the skills section of the job posting if they have one, and you could readjust your skills to align, so you could make it so you had 15 out of the 15 skills required.
Yeah, that's a good point, because a lot of these skills are soft skills that many of us will have. Like many of the skills that you can add to your profile. I mean, that's the extra mile that you can take is getting endorsed in those skills as well. But that's a really good point. Thank you. Okay, cool. No one else. A couple of these will be bonus tips. So things I just think you should do in general as a job seeker, even outside of LinkedIn. But again, sorry, I didn't catch your name, but as you said, researching the company is really, really important. So these are kind of like my top 4 bonus tips of job searching. But researching, you know, really when you see a job posting, looking at what the company is all about, looking at even the culture of the company. A lot of companies really focus hugely on their values and culture page on their website, taking a look at who works for them, how many people work for them, and then reflect and align as well. So taking a look at that job posting and your resume and cover letter beside one another and thinking, do I have an experience that maybe I didn't mention on my resume that actually might work really well for this posting? Your resume and cover letter, similar to your LinkedIn profile, is not a set in stone thing. It's fluid. You can change it as you see job postings. Maybe you volunteered. Maybe you're applying for an organization that advocates for dogs and cats or pets or something like that, and you volunteered at a humane society, and you usually wouldn't put that on your resume or cover letter. That's a time for you to really reflect and see, okay, what skills do I have, and then being able, or experiences, and being able to align that appropriately with all of your documents, and then for your LinkedIn as well. And then personalize as well. So these last 2 tips are Juno top secret tips that we tell all our job seekers. But back to the research point, really personalizing your cover letter to obviously who you're sending it to. I'm sure we all know that. It's kind of 101, but also seeing if there's any similarities as well. So let's just say whoever you're applying for, the HR manager, or maybe it's the communications manager or director of communications or whatever, and you went to the same school or you have a very similar career path, of making sure that you're connecting that and being like, hey, like I see that we both went to Mac or we both went to Brock. That's so awesome. Or even personalizing it to why you're applying for the company. These companies are going to get hundreds of applications that are all going to say the same thing. This is why you should hire me. I have this. Obviously, yes, that is great to do, but why do you want to work for the company? Why do you think your skill set is going to contribute well to the company? And that's what I mean by personalized. It's not just about, you know, it is about sharing your story, but it's also intertwining to say, you know, if you hire me, this is how my story will like continue at your company. And then the last tip, and this is pretty not, I'm sure a lot of you, maybe by a show of hands, how many of you, when you apply, do you follow up with someone from the company afterwards? Like you'll send a note, you'll send an email, you'll send a message on LinkedIn. Again, it is always depending on also reading the room. If someone's not engaged on LinkedIn and they have like 0 postings, you might not message them on LinkedIn because they might not go on. It's depending on the industry, but we always suggest following up with, and this is for web developers, so obviously different industry, but following up with an email or a LinkedIn message saying that you applied for the company and why you applied, why you're excited, kind of a quick overview of the skills you're bringing. And then I always recommend following up another time as well. So maybe 3 days after, a week after you apply and you haven't gotten anything back, follow up and say, hey, I just wanted to follow back up on this posting. I realized that, you know, it's still up. I just wanted to see if we could have a quick chat about the position. And it shows that you care about it, and it brings it up to the top of the person's inbox as well. So for some of us, I usually would never have followed up. I remember I got this tip maybe 2 years ago in my career of you need to follow up, because half the time people it gets buried in people's inbox. And luckily when I applied to Juneau College, that's exactly what happened. I followed up a week after and she said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, my email to you like actually didn't even send, so thanks for emailing me. So I always do it because you never know. It's a bit of that luck sometimes when it comes to job searching, of that you never know where your email is going to end up or your application is going to end up. So it's really showing that you're willing to take the extra mile. Awesome.
Maddie, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, of course.
What would you say is kind of the window of when you should be sending that follow-up? Like, I know you mentioned a week, but what's that window kind of to gauge?
Yeah, so so at Juneau College, what we tell people, and this might be a little bit, I would be intrigued to see what other PR professionals say, but this is what we tell people for web development. So when you apply, I recommend sending an email that day. If you can get their email, or if you can message them on LinkedIn, there's some awesome tools that you can actually get people's emails from that I can share afterwards. But I would send that email first thing, and then we actually tell people to follow up 2 days after. So we say 2 days after you applied for the position, you haven't heard anything, send another email in 2 days and just say, hey, just following up on this, just wanted to reiterate my interest in the position. But again, I would be intrigued to see if PR professionals would think that would be a good technique, or maybe it would be better a week. But that's what we do for front-end development, because it's so quickly moving and like hiring happens very, very quickly. But I always say, because hiring usually happens quickly and it's also depending on the industry, I always say do that like 2 days to, let's just say you apply on the Monday, like maybe follow up on like the Thursday or Friday towards the end of the week.
Okay, can I ask something? So
Yeah.
what if the deadline for application is still open?
That's a great question. So I should have added this tip. I always say read the room, because some industries are very strict on that deadline. So for example, post-secondary, university, colleges that have pretty like formalized hiring processes. And then also, hospitals, like bigger companies and organizations like that, I think they're way stricter on the deadline. So that's a good point. And the thing about following up is that it's really about planting the seed. So let's just say you email someone or you message someone on LinkedIn and they don't get back to you. Don't think that was a waste of time, because now they remember you emailing them. They remember your name. You went that extra mile. But if it's for a smaller company, for example, I would say like reach out anyways, even if the deadline is, you know, a week away or whatever it is, because smaller companies may also do their interviews on a rolling basis, or they may just wait until they find a good candidate until they take it down anyway. So it's really about seeing, you know, what industry you're applying into.
So just to clarify, so you said that even the deadline is still open. I mean, the application process formally is still accepting applicants. I can follow up after a week.
Oh yeah, you can still follow up. Like
Okay.
it's, yeah, you can still follow up. I'm just saying, like, it's depending, like it's not like if the deadline is a week away, it's not like wait until the application is closed. Do you know what I mean? Like I would still reach out even if the application process wouldn't be closed until like a week after. Awesome. So I just want to go over one last area of how to post and engage on LinkedIn, because I think many times I post on LinkedIn all the time. It's kind of like Instagram for me. I never post on Facebook anymore. And a lot of people are like, how can you even post? How do you even engage on LinkedIn? So I want to chat a bit about that. Don't mind the subtitles here. I did this for another group and I thought I took it off, but apparently I didn't. All good. So what to post? So I always say share posts that are connected to you. So when you become more comfortable with your story and you become more comfortable with what you're passionate about. So let's just say you're a student right now and you're in virtual classes all day. You're learning all of this great content. That's what connects to you. All the great knowledge you're getting, you know, being someone that is now a virtual student, you probably are greatly posed to be a great virtual employee with a company as well. And you also, I personally think if you're a student, you have such a great wealth of knowledge at your fingertips as well of what you can post. So post about any events you go to virtually or classes that you found interesting. You can share thoughts on particular topics. So for example, this post that I posted, I found it really interesting that Scotiabank is no longer requiring student resumes. They're actually just getting people to do an assessment called Plum, which I found really cool. So that connected to me, and I also found it a very interesting topic that I wanted to kind of share my opinion about. And then it's also about sharing accomplishments as well. So let's just say you get some sort of award from the school or from an organization you're involved in, or maybe you finish a program, which is awesome, or you find an internship. Share your accomplishments and share, you know, why it's important to you. Share any struggles that you've been through. As I'll mention in this next slide here, it's about, you know, sharing the realness and the lessons in your career. So kind of some quick tips of what I keep in mind when I'm posting on LinkedIn and creating content for this is, if you do, some people are kind of like, you know what, I don't want to post regularly on LinkedIn. It's just not my choice of media, which is totally fine. But for some of you that may be really good at creating content schedules and want to share more and get that kind of message across on your profile, it's really about posting regularly. So for example, that might look different for everyone, but for example, I do that once a week. If I can post once a week on LinkedIn, that is what I consider posting regularly for myself. I try to always think, you know, what am I contributing of value for someone? Am I posing an interesting question? Am I posing a topic that will make people think? You know, why am I posting this, and why is it important to myself? But why could it be important to, you know, maybe a fellow student right now, or maybe someone who is interested in the student experience, just using an example of being in school right now. I also always include questions in my posts as well. So I always try to get a conversation going, for better or for worse, but just say, you know, what do you think about this? So for example, I made a post about mentorship because I was in a similar mentorship program and I wanted to see how much time people made for mentorship every single month. And I got some responses underneath, which was great. And then share the realness and lessons. So let's just say you feel like you failed at something, or you feel like, you know, you had a negative experience in an interview or whatever it might be. It's really important to if you're comfortable, of sharing that realness of being a job seeker right now, or being a student, or being a young professional, or whatever, or someone that pivoted their career or whatever, and sharing those lessons that you learned. You know, I was in a point in my, this is an example, as a point in my career where I thought that I was job jumping. If I'm being completely honest, I was doing different jobs and I wasn't happy in them. And then luckily something else would come, so I'd go to that one. And I just kept on feeling like I didn't know what I was doing with my life. And I shared that on LinkedIn. It actually was one of my most popular posts because a lot of people can relate to that. And a lot of times when we go through struggles professionally and we can have an outlet like LinkedIn to share it, it can really resonate with a lot of people out there. You'd be surprised. And then don't be scared to brag. I know some of us don't like talking about ourselves. We don't like posting about accomplishments, but don't be scared. As long as you think you're bringing something of value and being able to demonstrate your story and what lessons you learned, don't be scared to share those really big wins that you, or small, even smaller wins that you have professionally. And then always focus on your story. So I'll tell a quick story. I'll tell a quick story about how I built my story and how fluid it can be. But when I was working at Niagara College a couple years ago after I graduated from Brock, and I worked very closely with the cannabis program that just started at Niagara College. And I took it upon myself to build some panel discussions and to make some programming, event programming for the cannabis program. And my story quickly became on LinkedIn and on social media that I knew everything about cannabis. I don't know why. I would get asked to speak on the radio about the cannabis program. I'd be asked to speak at events about cannabis. And I started posting a lot about the industry and different businesses in the industry, all about cannabis. It was quite funny. And now my story looks a lot different. And I don't focus on nothing against cannabis. I just don't focus on it anymore because that's not what I consider my story at the moment. So I guess 2 lessons from that tangent story, but your story can be fluid, but it's also good to, you know, what you're doing at school right now, what you're doing professionally, what you're doing in your job search can really be aligned in what you're sharing as well. Oh, my bad. Oh, there you go. Thought I lost it for a sec. Awesome. So I want you to take a few quick seconds and ask yourself, so we're going to get into some breakout rooms in a second that Kim's going to put together. But what is your story? So and this is something, you know, take away any cloud of self-doubt or maybe feelings of I don't like focusing on myself. This is a time for you to self-reflect. But what are your strengths and skills? What are your values? So what is important to you? Let's just say in your professional life, like what values are you trying to align to, or even with what kind of company you're hoping to be with, and what drives you as well? What motivates you? That could be, you know, family, that could be friends, that could be, you know, a certain position you're trying to get to, or even like a certain salary point you're trying to get to. What motivates you? That could be different for everyone. And I'm quickly going to, because we have, okay, cool, we have enough time. I'm going to quickly show this TED Talk video that I played for some of my job seekers at Juno that had a really big impact on me, but just to kind of change the way that, you know, your story can really help you land a job, even in some of the cases that you might be not, you know, you might not want people to know about certain things, or maybe you're embarrassed that you came from a different industry before you got into PR. So this video, I think, is only 4 minutes long. So I'm going to quickly play it and then we'll get into breakout rooms as well. And I think my volume should be shared. So now I want to go back to what is your story, and you'll have a chance to totally kind of implement what the TED Talk speaker said and what I've just been talking about as well. But I want you to remember a couple of things about building a personal brand story, whatever resonates with you. But first, it's about having a focus and don't try to be everything to everyone. Your narrowed down brand will be what people remember the most. You know, some people might remember me having my cannabis brand a couple of years ago, but now people remember me as someone that loves helping people with career pivots and also starting their career off as well. And be genuine as well. Your personal brand should be, you know, an easy daily filter that you can create content through and reach out to audiences. And tell a story. I know I keep on saying that, but create something that brings different characters in. You know, who are you trying to help? Who do you want to get involved in? And something your audiences can engage with. And I always think as well, it's always good to create a positive impact as well. Regardless of if you're in the most corporate role or wherever, from nonprofit to super corporate, you can always create a positive impact through your personal brand. So if you all could, I'm going to share that a little bit later. If all of you could bring up the worksheet that Kim sent you, that would be great. And Kim is going to put you into breakout rooms, and then we'll come around as well and see what everyone is up to. But it's pretty self-explanatory. But step 1 is a whole list of values. And you have to check off 10 values that are most important to you. And keep these in mind, because it's just a way for you to also self-reflect of what is important for your story, what's important to you professionally, personally. And then we'll get into step 2, which is, you know, listing 5 personal characteristics that you feel good about. So these should be nouns. And then the next one is listing 5 or more interactions of people that you've had that were especially successful and satisfying. And these should be verbs. So I included some examples in there. And Kim and I did this exercise for the first time together, actually. Pre-COVID, we were buddies, and we worked through our personal brand statement together. So I'm sure that both of us will be able to jump around and help you. And then step 3 is the world you want to live in. So the final element is to visualize what an ideal world looks like to you. So this can also be viewed from a career perspective as well. So what kind of role are you hoping to have? What impact do you want to have in your career? And this could be quite simple. If your goal is to just get like a communications role when you're done the program or whatever stage of your career is at, that's okay. It can be as large scale to, you know, short term as you'd like. And then putting together your personal brand statement. So this is what my personal brand statement, if I can bring it. And then this is the formula that you're going to use. So this is also on the worksheet too. So you're going to use your nouns, use your verbs, and your vision of a perfect world or your main goal, and integrate them together. So you can play around with it as well. I remember when we first put this together, me and Kim kind of looked at each other and was like, mine is so like clunky of like how it's all put together. Clunky is a word. And then you will end up with something like this. So this is my personal brand statement that I've massaged after the first time I did this exercise. So through my professional and personal roles, I use my passion for connecting and empowering in order to guide and encourage people to strive toward a community where they have access to opportunities that match their skills, talents, and goals. So you don't worry if your personal brand statement ends up like exactly using this formula here. It's not a big deal. What we want is for you to just reflect and to be able to just have something you can work with. And then this is something you can eventually use in, you know, elevator pitch or on your LinkedIn or when you introduce yourself, or just something that you can use as a bio, or it's kind of like even a North Star as you continue on in your career. So Kim, if you could activate the breakout rooms, that would be great.
Activated.
And I think it's going to be, I don't know how many people you put into each, like 2 to 3?
3, about 3. One has 2, but 3.
Okay. So everyone, I'll jump in. Everyone's leaving. Cool. I think we have everyone back now. Okay. So I would love to hear some of your personal mission statements or personal story statements. And again, I don't mind if you feel like it needs to have a little bit more workshopping because of the format, but does anyone want to share what they put together or how they liked the exercise, if they have any thoughts about what it made them think about? Does no one like their personal statement?
I'll share in a minute. I'm just like writing it down, kind of.
Okay. Maybe people need a couple more minutes. Okay, yeah. I understand. I think you're muted.
Yep. I can't share mine. This one I already have on my LinkedIn profile, and maybe you can comment on it. So I said outstanding data analytics professional with 10 years of experience in developing, executing, and analyzing data, detail-oriented with profound skills in major complex data analytics program, develop professional successful team leader relationship with teams member. My vision is to help organization finding effective ad hoc solutions and improve reporting systems toward a more informed decision-making process. Because I have another, kind of background, so I said experienced assistant professor of accounting with a demonstrated history of working in the higher education industry, skilled in data, lecturing, e-learning, data analytics, and research. Strong education professional with a Doctor of Philosophy, focus on financial accounting from University of Stirling, UK.
Oh my goodness, you have, wow, a wide array. That's so awesome. Cool. So I guess like the goal, I mean, you can have multiple personal statements, but how do we bring that all into one values prop? That's the question. Maybe we can meet with more time after that, because you have very interesting experience. So how can we bring that all together? But that's awesome.
I will
Thank
be
you
happy
for
to hang
sharing.
out and fix it together.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
I can go now.
Okay, cool.
So mine was, I use my passion and organization in order to collaborate and continually learn, to strive toward a passionate, collaborative, and inclusive workplace.
Awesome. I love that. I think that, and like you didn't have to focus on, I like how you kind of brought in like a workplace to that, rather than it doesn't have to be like a big goal. It doesn't have to be like a big community, but it can just really be the workplace that you're wanting to join. So thank you for sharing. And what's your name? Sorry, I just can't see on the.
It's Briar.
Briar. Awesome. I like that name. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I think I will go.
Thanks, Rita. I was gonna pick on you anyways, if I'm being honest.
Oh no, I was ready for it though. So mine's a little, I just want your thoughts on what I have. It's kind of not in that, like the way you put it with the.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So I'm an authentic and driven communicator with a passion for creativity and fostering relationships. My skills shine the brightest when I'm developing communication plans and implementing marketing campaigns.
I really like that. I really like how, because like I find when people are like creating these statements, like they don't have to be super rigid. You know what I mean? Like it's not like you can't bring in, like I like how you say, I shine the brightest. Like it's bringing in like, without you just saying I am passionate. You don't have to say that because you brought it into your own words. So I really, really like that, and bringing in some of the actual tasks and responsibilities and roles that you have experience with already. I think that was really good. And again, I like how you took this exercise and like changed it into your own, because like I said, when I first used this template, like I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot keep it like this, but it just like allows you to just piece it together just for the first kind of iteration. So thank you for sharing.
No problem. I have a question actually. So after you say your statements as you have there, would you then lead into from my past experience, I've done this, this, and this?
Like in this statement?
Yeah. Or so what I'm specifically saying is as if the statement is in your about section on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So like, here, let me actually just quickly, if I can, I just want to show you quickly like what my full summary looks like on my LinkedIn. So like I just included that at the top. So I included like my value, like my personal statement at the very top, and then I continued on with like what I do day to day.
Okay, I see.
See what I mean? So like, again, this is really, it's yours to kind of like play around with. So for me, cause I know that people have short attention span, I was like, let me just put like what my passion is right at the top, because that's what it's important to me, so people know like what I'm about. And then I got in, okay, as a career success specialist, I do this, and then my off the clock, and then my call to action as well. But I think like really, and especially for example, I'm not in a job search right now either. So if I was in a job search, I would change what this looks like as well. So this would be similar. Like if you're searching for a new position, searching for a new, like an internship, for example, you can also change that. So it's a little bit like a shortened cover letter. So you could say, you know, with 5 years of experience with this, this, and this, I have been able to do, and then you can add your like proof or your impact that you included in your statement.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Would anyone else like to share? I love the encouragement in the chat. I love to see that.
I can read what I have on LinkedIn right now because I wasn't really able to develop one tonight. But
yeah,
I think it's shorter than it should be, but I also struggle with, because like my experience and my passions seem like they're all over the place, but when I talk to people, they understand the connection. So I worry about like putting it all over it and making it super long and really wordy, and then people thinking that like I don't actually know what I want to do because there's just so much to it. Because like I worked in child welfare for 15 years, transitioned into PR, but like I do human rights investigations, super passionate about equity, so I do a lot of like campaign work.
Oh, very cool.
Like volunteer stuff. So like it all connects when you think about it. And I like work part-time, like I moonlight in HR, but then I do PR, and like it just, there's so much, it all intertwines, but it's really hard to have that make sense.
Yeah.
So what I have now on LinkedIn, in my about section is just public relations professional with over 15 years experience in the social service sector. Specialties include not-for-profit sector PR, crisis communications, and strategic planning. Extensive experience in equity and human rights, ability to build relationships through even the most challenging times. Which the last part I like, because it makes sense, because for 15 years I told people really bad information and continue to work with them. So that's something I especially like. It's one of those random child welfare skills you don't think is transferable, but it very much is.
Crisis, almost crisis. Yeah, with the like crisis communication.
All the time.
Yeah, and I think it's about, because I had a similar kind of question as well in my career, because like I've had several different kinds of roles, and I actually started in PR and government relations, and then I ended up here. So I totally get what you're saying, and I think it's about finding that like red thread throughout all of your experience, and really asking your question like, why did you get into PR? Like why was that calling for you at this certain point of your life? And I think it's really focusing on the why of that. But then also, okay, well, during my time, you know, working in kind of the youth sector and working with, you know, human rights and equity, why did I get to the conclusion that PR brought that all together? Because you know why you are now getting into PR and you're wanting to start a career in PR. And I think that's what people will be wondering, because they might be like, huh, interesting. You know, I like Marika, right? Started like her career here and then ended up here. So the why of like why you got into PR will be kind of that bridge to help people like come to the other side with you. Because some people won't get it. Like that's just the way it is. But some people who are interested in career pivots, really showing that, you know, I took a change in my career, and this is why. And this is why this is going to build me into a great PR specialist.
That's what I worry about sometimes, because I just put like 15 years experience in the social service sector, but because I find that when I say child welfare, people are like, ugh, why is she like looking for work in the private like business sector now? Like people don't understand it until I talk to them, and they're like, oh, you can do all of the things I do. They just don't realize it, because child welfare is something that most people are like, ooh, don't talk to me about that. So I try to stay away from putting that in stuff, but I think like I get what you're saying, and I'll definitely try and like weave that thread through it and kind of explain a bit more about how I ended up where I did.
Yeah, and it is hard because like the why yourself, you know what you're trying to portray, but it's just getting that message when someone does read it, they're like, oh yeah, true. And that might be like literally spelling it out so clearly of like, this is why. Like when you like maybe when you're looking for a job in PR specifically, and you're applying for different positions, like really stating, you know, my past experience in like working with children and advocating for youth makes me a great candidate for this communications position, because A, B, and C. Some people really need it spelled out for them.
Oh, for sure. I've even told some of my old colleagues what PR is and how like they do that at their jobs every day, and they're like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Like you do it all the time.
No, exactly. So just think of that red thread. I'd be happy if you do work on it, just send it over to me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to look at it at a later date too.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, cool. For the sake of time, and I also saw a really good question up here that I want to get to as well at the end. I'm just going to finish up. And if, again, like I just said, if any of you do put this together and you didn't want to share in front of the group, which is 100% fine, feel free to send it over to me, to my email, which I'll share at the end, and then also, or LinkedIn as well. And I'd be happy to take a look at that as well. But even if you just took this time to reflect, that's all I really wanted you to do anyways. So just to kind of wrap it up and some next steps to think about in terms of like, okay, now I might be a little bit more motivated to post on LinkedIn or be active on LinkedIn or just share my story on LinkedIn or even Instagram, whatever platform. I always try to suggest, you know, thinking about, wow, I cannot spell. I went to number 1, 2, 3, 5. That makes sense. Awesome. I missed one, which was supposed to be mentorship, everyone. That is on my notes. I didn't put it in there because I know all of you already are involved in mentorship. So, but firstly, it's social proof. So these opportunities, and what I mean by social proof is like the ability to show, you know, what you're all about and show your skill set as well. So for example, when Kim reached out to me to do this workshop, I was really flattered. I was like, of course, I love talking about this kind of stuff. But to me, it was also social proof that Kim also saw that, you know, I can speak about LinkedIn and I can speak, you know, facilitate a workshop as well. And these opportunities to show your social proof come up very randomly. And often you recognize them before you feel fully prepared either. But I think on LinkedIn, you see, and this is LinkedIn and also life as well. I'm just getting into like the broader picture of professional development too. But it's all, and also about showing up too. So networking, originally, when I did this workshop pre-COVID, I said networking. Go learn how to network, learn how to love how to network in your own way. It might look different for everyone. Not everyone's going to be comfortable meeting with complete strangers or handing out a business card, but what does showing up or networking look like to you? And that's might be coming to sessions like this and engaging, or coming to other workshops and events that Kim puts on and the association puts on. And also growth strategy. So as communication professionals, you might speak a little bit about growth strategies in school right now or in any roles you have right now, but are you wanting to grow on LinkedIn or Instagram? It's fine if you don't really care if you get past the 500 plus number on LinkedIn, or if you get a certain amount of likes on your post. I don't care about all this, but what is a growth strategy that works for you? For example, I got to a point where I was like, you know what, I want to share some of my thoughts and some of my tips in another way. So I actually started a newsletter. I started a bi-weekly newsletter that people can sign up to. I haven't been sending it out recently. My bad. I'm going to restart it. I got married a month ago, so I've been very, very busy. But I created a newsletter to kind of share and grow my kind of strategy outside of online. And that might be something you might be interested in, or maybe it's starting a side hustle, whatever it is. And I also, in terms of growth, I have a bookshelf in front of me. I'm trying to look for this book. I also recommend reading this book as well. So it's called Platform by Cynthia Johnson. So this is whatever stage of your career you're at, or whatever, it's about the art and science of personal branding. So she talks a lot about building like a growth strategy that works for you, regardless of what your goal is. So really recommend this book. And my number 4 point was supposed to be mentorship. And I'm really glad you're all in this mentorship program, because regardless of what stage of your career that you're at, mentorship is so important. I have a mentor. I've begun to mentor people as well, which has been really, really rewarding. But all of you kind of have a step forward on that anyways, but through being a part of this program. And finally, focus on your own success metric. You know, first off, ignore the haters. If people are like, why are you posting on LinkedIn? That's so weird. Just be like, you know, I'm thinking outside the box. I'm doing something for my career. Sorry that you're not doing that. Posting on LinkedIn. and also don't be worried if you post something and you get 0 likes on it. The moment that you don't care about how many likes you get on a LinkedIn post or even Instagram, let's be honest, that's the moment that you're really just doing it for yourself, but also doing it because you want to share your story with people, and the likes will come later on. You can't expect to post your first post on LinkedIn of sharing your story. So maybe Marika was sharing her red thread of how she got into PR, for example, and maybe she gets 3 likes from that. That's awesome. And maybe the next post you post about that, you get 10 likes. That's awesome as well. So really just focusing on what your own success metric is and not really focusing on, the likes. Awesome. So, oh yes, sorry, I was just looking at the chat really quick to see if I missed anything. Just to kind of finish off as well, one of my favorite quotes is too many overvalue what they are not and undervalue what they are. So a lot of us, focus on maybe what we don't have. Maybe we don't have a technical ability that we need to get that's on a resume, or maybe we look at, maybe we're not the best public speaker right now, whatever it is. And we always forget about all of the other great things that we're good at, like, giving one-on-one support, being able to write an amazing communication plan. Maybe you are so creative. So really focusing on, what you bring to the table, and really focusing on your strengths and improving your weaknesses as you go. And again, my final thing is build your story and share it, because we're all in very interesting times right now. I love to talk to people that are going through school right now, or even in different workplaces right now, of how they're adapting virtually, how they're adapting to networking virtually. So again, I encourage you to share your story fearlessly, and also reach out to me as well if you have any questions at all. I do resume reviews for people and look at LinkedIn reviews as well. So yeah, my email's there, and also add me on LinkedIn, which some of you already have. And are there any questions? I know Carla asked a question. What's your advice for those posting where they say no phone calls or follow-ups? So Carla, that's a great question, because I have seen that on postings. I personally, and what I've done in the past is that I go to LinkedIn and I find someone who would be in a similar position as me. So someone that doesn't necessarily have hiring decision-making or anything like that. And I reach out to them and I say, hey, I applied to this role. I see that you have a very similar role. I'd love to pick your brain about, the position you have and your responsibilities, and as someone already in the industry, and if you know the best person for me to reach out to. That way, at least you get kind of your name in the door, and they also have that 1 degree closer to whoever that hiring manager is. It's a little bit of a sneaky way that it's I'm not directly following up. I'm just planting the seed with someone else within the company. So that's personally what I would do. Any other questions? I was right on time at 8:30. So if you have to head up, because it is after 8:30, totally okay. Thank you so much for participating.
Yet, everyone.
Oh, sorry. No. Sorry, Kim. Just trying to run the show for a second. But yes, thank you for participating. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing the different things you might be posting on LinkedIn now, or if any of you want to reach out to me, please do.
Thank you so much, Madi, for this amazing presentation. I drew a lot of value from it, and I'm sure everyone else did too. Please, everyone, connect with Madi on LinkedIn. And Madi, check your email later today for a little surprise, a token of thanks from us. And for everyone else here, I'm actually going to share my screens. I have to disable Madi's screen. Sorry, Madi. And we are going to give away a virtual door prize. It's as fun as it sounds. So, who is going to win? And it looks like it's Nicholas. Yay, Nicholas. So Nicholas, you're gonna win a $10 gift card to Starbucks. Congratulations. Okay, so that's
amazing.
So I'll email that to you, Nicholas, a bit later. Nicole, sorry. not Nicole, Nicholas, sorry. All right, so everyone, thank you again for joining us today. I'll be sending out the slides, and they'll include Madi's contact information if you want to connect with her on LinkedIn or via email. She'll be able to follow up with you. For those of you who are not part of the mentorship program and did pay the deposit today, we will get those refunded in the next few days. So it won't happen right away, but it is coming. It takes a couple days to process. So if you have any difficulties, just reach out to us at mentorship@cprshamilton.ca. And if no one else has any questions for Madi, we will call it a day. So I'm not seeing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so everyone, thank you so much for today, and we look forward to seeing you at the next event. So thanks again.
Bye, everyone.